Okay. So just as a side note, the meeting, I am getting ready to go live on YouTube so that we can archive the meeting. And good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you to the National Providers Networking meeting. Let me make sure I don't have double sound from YouTube. On YouTube so that okay, so we're good. So welcome to the National Providers Networking meeting. I am your host for today. My name is Kimberly Haynes. I'm also the Executive Director for Family to Family Federation for Children's Mental Health. Our normal host, Ms. Suzette Logan, is not going to be with us today, so she has entrusted me with this high responsibility of facilitating our meeting this morning. I will be your host, but I'm also kind of your behind the scenes tech person. So please bear with me. We do the National Providers Networking meeting every third Thursday between January and November. The meeting is always at 10 a.m. until noon. So we definitely encourage you to invite a friend. It's a platform where we try to bring all of our providers together because we really want to help our schools and our families know about all of the really great services that you all offer. So we appreciate you coming in. A little bit of information, Family to Family is a family-run organization. The majority of our board members and stakeholders are parents or family members with lived experience. And so what we do is we provide advocacy and education. We assist with program capacity building, content development, and evaluation. We really try to work on helping to improve the protective factors that help keep our children safe against child abuse, violence, and drug addiction. So we work with a lot of committees and groups around, building the capacity to support schools that are using family-centered approaches. There's community-based youth programs, and those approaches and initiatives that promote social and emotional learning and drug-free communities. And so we really try to target working with providers that are working with those families and persons that have lived experience, whether it's in mental health, criminal or juvenile justice, and special education. We are also one of the convening organizations for the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services Cook South Region Permanency Enhancement Action Team. And sort of what our role is with that is to review our county level permanency data, looking at the number of children who are entering the child welfare system, looking at the number of children who are exiting the child welfare system, and working with the department to really address disproportionality by identifying those barriers to helping children find permanent homes. So our role is to mobilize community stakeholders such as yourselves and to work to develop and implement community-specific strategies to help prevent child abuse, to lessen the harm, and to help families reunite. And we're also working with them to track and assess the short-term and long-term progress and outcomes. So if you're joining us and you have a cell phone nearby, please join our mailing list. We do try to get these meeting notices out every month so that we can let you know who's going to be our guest speakers, as well as any announcements. So what I like to do now, since I've already introduced myself and told you a little bit about me, I would like to open up the floor and let everyone else introduce themselves. So the way that we do this is I'm going to pick someone and ask them to introduce themselves. You're going to give me your elevator pitch. This is not the time to give me your whole agency agenda. We will have time for that at the end, but please introduce yourself, tell us who you're with, and then you're going to pass it to someone else. So I'm going to throw this to Miss Christina Ramirez.
Hi everyone, good morning. Christina Ramirez, like Kimberly said, thanks for letting me come on. I am the Director of Business Development for Existential Counselor Society, or ECS. We are a residential treatment program, inpatient residential treatment program for men over in the Joliet area and accept all insurances, including managed Medicaids and the commercial insurances.
Thank you, Christina. Good to see you. Welcome
Nice to
back.
see you.
Now
Thank
pass it to the next person.
I'm going to call out Tamiko Dockery.
Oh,
Hello,
Tamiko.
Hi,
Christina. So
Tamiko.
great to see you. Great to see everyone. I am Tamiko Dockery. I am the community liaison and specialty programs liaison for both Hartgrove Behavioral Health System and Garfield Park Behavioral Hospital. And I'm one of the presenters today. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you, Tamiko. Looking forward to hearing your presentation. Now pass it on.
I pass to Giovanna Smith.
Hey, Giovanna. I think Giovanna might be frozen.
Oh.
But
Okay.
I have to say, that's one of the best freezes. She's frozen with a cute little smile on her face.
Okay, I will pass to Gia Washington.
Oh, hey, Gia.
Good morning. Good to see everybody or see everybody on. I'm Gia Washington. I'm the Director of Community Education at Sertoma Center. So we provide services to adults and youth struggling with mental health challenges. And I work with our Community Education Department where we provide mental health related trainings. I'm going to pass it on to Faith.
Hey, Faith.
Morning. I lost my voice, so I really can't talk.
Oh.
But I work with Book Family Advocacy Center as the program coordinator.
Oh, hey, Faith. Faith is from Book, Building Our Own Communities. That's our family advocacy center for our region. I'm glad you joined us, Faith. Now you can just give me a little bit more of your voice to pass it on to the next person.
I'll pass it to James.
Okay, hey, James.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is James McCombs. I'm with the University of Illinois Extension. I serve on our SNAP education team. We partner with organizations to promote healthy eating and physical activity.
Well, good morning, James. And James is our contact for the Illinois Junior Chef and the Eat Fit Healthy program that we're going to do at Lincoln this year. So thanks, James. Now pass it on for someone else.
I will pass it to Catherine.
Catherine.
You guys see me? Okay.
Yes.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Catherine Eiferung. I am the program supervisor for Best Start, which is housed in Midlothian School District 143. We are an intensive home visiting program for anybody who's expecting, any prenatal mothers, as well as families with children under the age of 3. So we service Midlothian, Crestwood, Markham, as well as, I'm missing one, Robbins.
Okay. Thank you, Catherine. Good to see you.
I know I haven't been here in a while.
yes, but I know you've been on our mailing list, so I'm glad to see you. Now pass it on.
All right. Who hasn't gone? Miss Kristen Hadley.
Oh, good morning, Kristen. I'm glad you were able to get the link. Good morning.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kristen Hadley. I'm the president and CEO of Alameda with CP and ADHD networking group. I'm also a member. I'm also the advocacy director over at Family to Family. And I'm also a Lion of Cup Lion Cyber Club.
Well, thank you, Kristen.
I would like to pass it on to Tika.
To whom? Tia? Tila?
Tila.
Oh,
yeah.
Thank you, Kristen. Good morning, Miss Tila. Unmute.
Okay, there
There
we
you
go.
go.
Whew, good morning, good morning, good morning. Thank you, Kristen. I am Tila Mims. I'm also a lion, a lucky lion. And I do some project work with Family Voices, which is the national organization that sponsors or supports all of the affiliates across the country, including the Arc of Illinois. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
And Tila's an awesome parent advocate. Thank you, Tila.
Thank you.
Pass
I'm
it
exhausted,
on
but
for
that's
me.
all good. Thank you.
Yes.
One
You
more
got to
thing,
pass it on, Tila.
I got an announcement.
We're not doing announcements right now, Kristen. We'll do those at the end, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Tila, you have to pass it on to someone.
Okay, I'll pass on to Ariel. Have you gone yet?
Ariel.
Hey, Ariel.
Hi, everybody. Hey, I'm Ariel. I am from Northwestern University. I work on their MHSPP program, which is their mental health services and policy programs on the Spider team. And I'm also the director of membership and marketing for Family to Family. It's nice to see everybody this morning.
Good morning, Ariel. Thank you. Thank you. Pass it on.
Dr. Young.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Young. I'm the Director of Student Services at Lincoln Elementary School. I'm also an associate member of COPE and a member of Calumet Lions Club as well. And I am glad to be present amongst good people.
Thank you, Dr. Young. Dr. Young is also one of our presenters this morning. So please pass it on. Dr. Young, pass it out.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did Tamiko go?
Tamiko went.
Faith?
Faith went. Giovanna was called, but she was frozen. So maybe
Giovanna,
we can go back to
ready?
Giovanna. Yes.
Good morning, everybody. I am back. You know,
Good morning and welcome back.
Thank you. Giovanna Smith, DCFS, Resource and Recruitment. And in that role as resource and recruitment, we recruit foster parents for our children who need homes and permanency. Thank you.
Thank you, Giovanna. And please pass it on.
I was gone. Did Ariel go?
Ariel went. I'll help you out because you were missing.
Okay.
Let's throw it to Lori and Bliss.
Okay.
Hey, Lori. Hey, Bliss. Good to see you.
Good morning. I am Lori Lindsay. I am from District 215. I'm the school psychologist. I've been working with LAN since 2010, and then been working on a couple of projects with Kim this past school year, and hopefully we can pick that up where we left off. And then I'd like to introduce my practicum student, Mrs. Bliss Jones from Governor State University. So this time next year, she should be a bona fide school psychologist working in the field. So I'm excited about that.
Well, welcome, Ms. Bliss. It's good to see you.
Thank you. It's good to see all of you as well.
Okay. Now you're gonna introduce yourself as well.
Oh, me? My name is Bliss Jones. I'm a third-year student in the school psych program at Governor State. I'm doing my practicum with Miss Lindsay, as you just said. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to hear about all the resources that you guys are sharing. So,
well, welcome, Bliss, and you are definitely in good company with Miss Lori over there.
yes,
Okay.
Yeah, I'm enjoying myself.
Good. So, pass it along. I think we have. I think that April hasn't gone. And we've got the 312. Who is that again on the 312 phone? Let's go. Okay, well, we'll start with April because I saw her pop her picture in. Good morning, April.
Good morning, Kim. Good morning, everyone. So happy to be on with you all this morning. April Tolbert, Cook County Department of Public Health. And I'm in our Community Engagement and Health Education Unit. We are one of 5 public health agencies in Cook County. Chicago has its own, Evanston has its own, Oak Park. There are a couple of more, but we serve all of suburban Cook County. So we are your public health department. And we partner with coalitions. And as Kim mentioned, more specifically, people with lived experience to hear those voices. So those voices can come back to the public health department to inform the way we do our work on the local level. So happy to be here. And I can't stay on the entire time. So if I can't, Kim, I'll make sure I share an event coming up in Blue Island next week.
Okay, thanks, April. And we did include that in our September meeting announcement.
Yes, thank you all so much. I appreciate that.
All right, thank you, April.
Okay. And I will pass it to, I think, did Lisa just pop on?
Lisa just popped in, yes.
Okay, Lisa, if you can hear us.
Hello. Yes, hello. My name is
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Kimberly. How are you?
Great, great.
So my name is Lisa Guardiola. I wear many hats. First of all, I am with Sertoma Center, but I also am the vice president of NAMI Illinois and NAMI South Suburbs of Chicago. So NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. We, try to educate, advocate, and support those living with mental health conditions and their families. We have support groups and a wide variety of, free educational programs that are offered to the community as well. So we're going to be participating in the NAMI Walk Chicago on October 7th. I'm going to put our team page in the chat box. So if anybody would like to join the team or wants more information, I'll put my email in there as well. Or if you'd like to make a donation as well, the link will be in the chat box. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. And I did send that out through the LAN listserv. So most of you all are on that listserv. If you don't have it, you can definitely reach out to Lisa, or she's going to put her information, and we'll try to send it out again for you as well, Lisa. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And I know that Kelly hasn't gone. So come on, Kelly, introduce yourself.
Hi, good morning. My name is Kelly Tavermina. I'm the nurse supervisor of the Nurse Family Partnership Program at Metropolitan Family Services. We are a nurse home visiting program for low-income first-time parents.
Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you. And I will pass it to Teresa. She's my coworker.
Okay, good, good, good. Hi, Teresa.
Hi. Well, obviously my camera is not working, but
I
hi.
see you.
Can you see me? I cannot. Well, okay, fine. So then I'm like a family support worker for the Nurse Family Partnership Program for first-time moms, low income within the suburbs, and we operate out of Metropolitan Family Services.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
And so we've got our 312. Let's see. I'm doing double duty, so I know who this is, but I can't. Okay, so while we, there's the unmute button.
Aha, there we go. This is Nancy Aguirre, and I'm from the Community and Residential Services Authority out of Springfield. I cover the northern area, everything north of I-80, except for the actual city of Chicago. And we assist families in accessing special education services or in navigating the funding streams for residential treatment.
Okay, thank you so much. Glad to see you. Well, glad to hear you. And
Can
now,
I get her name?
Sorry.
I couldn't hear her name.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you?
Yeah, it's Nancy Aguirre, Aguirre.
Okay. And
I
then
heard residential and special ed.
and I am gonna encourage everybody, please put your information in the chat box. If you're open to having that shared, and we can actually share that chat box with everyone. Okay. And then I know we've got Jada English just joined us. So Jada, we're just doing a brief introduction.
Hi, everybody. I'm sorry. I'm a little sick and congested this morning, so keeping it to myself today.
Introduce yourself.
I'm sorry. I am the assistant youth program director for the Leo Club, and I am also a lion.
Thank you, Jada. I hope you feel better. And Fatima just joined us. So Fatima, we're just doing a brief introduction, letting everyone know who you are and where you're from.
Well, I'm not Fatima. I'm just using her Zoom. It's Mike Rudolph from River Edge. I was about to change my name. So I'm Mike River Edge. I'm just glad to be here, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Mike. And I'm glad you could join us.
Me too.
So I think that I have gotten through the introduction, and I'm pretty sure that we've heard from everyone. So please take the time, if you are able to, add your contact information in the chat box, and that is something that we can share so that we can make sure that the connections are being made and the resources are being promoted. So moving forward, I definitely want to make sure we have enough time, because we've got two really great speakers. We've got Ms. Tamiko Dockery, who's going to talk to us about some of the programs and resources from Hartgrove Hospital. And then we're going to hear from Dr. Tamara Young, who's going to kind of give us that information on IEPs. It's the beginning of the school year. And I know that many of us are working with families, whether these are families that are coming for related human services. A lot of them are also parenting children who need additional resources in the school. So we like to kick off the beginning of the school year with that sort of grounding information. So I want to make sure that they're having enough time for their presentations. And if you all bear with me, I'm going to make sure that I have the appropriate screens, because normally Suzette is handling the facilitation. I'm in the back doing all of the technical work. So I've got to do a little bit of double duty today. Let me see if I can pull their presentations up. And I am going to leave your view so that I can save all of my bandwidth for making sure that I'm heard and not seen. So just to do a quick tech check, you guys are seeing the lovely Tamiko Dockery, the Hartgrove Behavioral Health System and Garfield Park Hospital screen. Yes?
Yes.
Great, great. So I'm pleased to welcome Ms. Tamiko Dockery. She has presented for us in the past. She's talked to us about the programs and services that are offered by Hartgrove Behavioral Health, as well as she's facilitated trainings with us on post-traumatic stress syndrome, which is very well received. The community is very open to these educational sessions. So we're very happy to have Ms. Tamiko back with us this morning. And without further ado, I'm going to let her take the microphone. I am going to ask all of our participants, so please mute yourselves so that we can hear Ms. Tamiko. At the end of her presentation, we'll give a couple of minutes for some questions and answers because she does have to leave us early this afternoon. And then we'll go right into our next presenter. So Tamiko, when you want to go to your next slide, you just say next slide.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for hosting this every single month and for creating this platform for us all to be able to come together. And I like to think of us as like a think tank. And it's, very important that, we stay current on what resources are available so that we can best serve our clients, our patients, and the community. So thank you for always so graciously hosting us. Okay. Do you have the presentation ready? Thank you. Okay, so again, I am Tamiko Dockery. I am the Community Liaison and Specialty Programs Liaison for both Garfield Park Behavioral Hospital and Hartgrove Behavioral Health System, which are two state-of-the-art facilities that provide a full continuum of behavioral health care and specialty programs. Next slide. So Hartgrove Behavioral Health System offers a full continuum of care. We do this 24/7, 365. We take walk-ins. People are welcome to schedule appointments. We are a police drop-off for about, I believe it's 6 or 7 districts. We also get referrals from hospital emergency rooms, Chicago public schools, northern, western, and south suburban suburbs. And we offer inpatient services for children 3 to 9, pre-adolescent services 10 to 12. We have an adolescent program for ages 13 to 17, and our adult program ages 18 and up. So we do have individualized treatment. We have a pediatric and adolescent unit. We have recovery and crisis stabilization units for adults and adolescents. Next slide. Here's a picture of Hartgrove Hospital, of our lobby, of our gym, and one of our group rooms. Next slide. So we have specialty programs at Hartgrove Behavioral Health System, and we're known for our trauma program, our trauma recovery assistance utilizing multiple system-based approaches. And so what that program does is address the impact of traumatic stress on the health and well-being of children, adolescents, and adults. And we are the first hospital in the nation to receive the Joint Commission Disease-Specific Certification Gold Seal of Approval for trauma-informed care. This slide just outlines some of the evidence-based approaches that are used on our units. So the big ones, the ones that people most often hear about are CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, and then trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, motivational interviewing. We practice the stages of change model, and then we do offer psychological testing as well. Other direction. Thank you. Our other hospital is Garfield Park Behavioral Hospital, which also offers a full continuum of care, just like Hartgrove Hospital. The difference with Garfield Park is that we strictly serve children and adolescents, starting with the age of 3 up to the age of 17. If they're over the age of 17, then they would go to Hartgrove. But we do have individualized treatment there as well on our pediatric and adolescent units. Garfield Park Hospital also is an 88-bed facility. And And here are some pictures of, 3 pictures of what it looks like, but you can also go to the website for a virtual tour. Or if you would like to come see the hospital in person, we do conduct in-person tours, and we also will feed you. You can have lunch with us at the hospital. So the specialty programs at Garfield Park Hospital, first one is our Worthy program. And so this is an acute inpatient program for adolescents who are at risk of or are actively being sex trafficked. And so this program was developed by 2 of our former social workers who did extensive research around sex trafficking. And what they did was develop the sex trafficking screening tool. And so we use this tool to kind of look for some of those sex trafficking warning signs. So some of the things that we're looking for are like homelessness, chronic running away, poverty, gang membership, a person that's involved with a much older partner, boyfriend or girlfriend. Maybe this is a young person that has large amounts of cash or very expensive personal items like designer, purses or shoes or clothing, and that they don't have a job. The other thing that we look at for this program is tattoos. We know that tattoos or branding or barcodes could very well be a warning sign that someone is being sex trafficked. The last thing that we're looking at is anyone that's posting sexually explicit photos on social media. We want to pay attention to that as well. And the reason I'm sharing that is because maybe sometimes you might have someone in your office and you're listening, to them talk about what's going on with them. But these are some of the things that you might want to ask about or just kind of pay attention to as they're sharing their story with you. Some of the reasons that people will present for treatment for our program is usually following a sexual assault or drug overdose or psychiatric condition or pregnancy. So what we do with this program is we try to really help empower our patients. And so what we do is our treatment in this program is centered around staying safe, education around sex trafficking, helping this young person to recognize risky behaviors, helping them to learn about healthy relationships. Also, we want to build their self-worth and self-esteem, and we also do safety and future planning. Our next program is the Polaris program. And so with that program, that is an actual unit within Garfield Park Hospital. It's 18 beds. And so this is a program for youth ages 12 to 17 years old. And again, this program was developed by our administrators as well as our social workers. And so for this program, we did develop our own screening tool. And so the reason we created this program in October of 2018 was because we were seeing a lot of LGBTQ youth, and we had people from Chicago public schools, mostly social workers, psychologists, saying we really need something where our LGBTQ youth can feel affirmed and feel safe. And so our young people were stating that hospital staff would often misgender them, or that hospital staff didn't care to understand if their presenting problem was somehow related to their sexual orientation or their gender identity. So some of the ways that we try to affirm or help those youth feel safe is starting with our intake form. So we do ask questions about, sexual orientation and gender identity. We also ask about preferred pronouns, and that's on our intake form. And then we also let them make a choice about who they would want as a roommate. So again, we want to just, make sure that they, feel safe and that they feel heard. Some of the areas that we address in treatment for the Polaris program are around discrimination, bullying, family discord, and so those groups for the Polaris program are actually run by our team of psychologists. One other thing I'll say about the Polaris program is that just because someone identifies as LGBTQ doesn't mean that that they have to be on that unit. It's up to them. Sometimes, even though people identify as LGBTQ, they, say, I want to be in the mainstream unit or go to the, more mainstream groups, or they might want to cross over. They might want to sleep on the Polaris unit, but do group therapy or group counseling in the mainstream group. So however they want to do it, that's what we allow. And then our last program is YES, which is youth exhibiting sexualized symptoms. And so this is a program for pediatric and adolescents who display sexually problematic behaviors. And these are usually those young people that are acting out sexually at school or at home or in the community, and maybe they're being sexually aggressive. So we do have a program for them. Okay, next slide. This is our back to school mental health assessment. So we do offer, oh, and I'm sorry, the phone number dropped down some kind of way, but we do offer back to school mental health assessments, and we're still doing those now. So just like a young person right before school starts goes into their medical or pediatrician to see a doctor for shots or vaccinations or what have you, we're really trying to normalize and create this atmosphere where it's normal for people to have a back to school mental health checkup, so to speak. And so we offer that, and this is the phone number to call and to make that appointment. Next slide. These are Hargrove academic affiliations. So our medical students and residents and physician assistants come from Rush, UIC, and Yale. We also have nursing students from Loyola, Triton, Dominican University, and UIC. And then our social work students are UIC, Loyola, and from Dominican University. Next slide. And then these are our affiliations for Garfield Park. Pretty much the same, except on this one, we do have social work students from Roosevelt University. Next slide. Here's some information about our PHP, which is our partial hospitalization program, and our ILP, which is available for children and adolescents 5 to 17. And at Hartgrove, ages 12 to 17. So Hartgrove Hospital, we commonly treat these various diagnoses, so depression, bipolar, anxiety disorders, PTSD, ADHD, and other mood and behavior disorders. And our group therapy specializes in conflict resolution, anger management, life skills, substance abuse, and emotional regulation. And then for Garfield Park's PHP, that program, we have a pediatric program for ages 5 to 11 and adolescents 12 to 17. And if a family requires transportation, both hospitals have their own fleet of transportation. And so that can be worked out through our emergency services department, but we do offer expressive therapy, art, music, and movement. They get a medication evaluation and management, group psychotherapy, individual treatment planning, and family individual psychotherapy as needed. And that's Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we have outpatient services. So we have 2 outpatient locations, Chatham Family Counseling Center at 1111 East 87th and Oak Park Counseling Center at 101 Madison Street on the 2nd floor. And those are the phone numbers. We also offer telepsychiatry through Oak Park Counseling and Chatham Family, and those are the phone numbers as well. And I will, Kimberly can share this with people who would be interested in having this. Okay, next slide. These are our school-based counseling centers. So as you see, we do a lot of school-based counseling, and this is the list of those schools. Next slide. So we do have professional development trainings, which is led by Daisy Gomez. And she is awesome. She's a phenomenal speaker, and she is our educational clinical services coordinator. And that is her contact information at daisy.gomez@uhsinc.com, as well as her phone number. But here's a listing of the 9 presentations that she does. And we have a picture here of our community liaisons, our group director of business development, our referral communications coordinator, and our manager of community relations and legislative affairs. So right now we are a team of 6 handling the entire state of Illinois. And it is a heavy lift, but we get it done. So we do something called Coffee Conversations and CEUs. And so our next one will be on October 6th. It starts at 10 a.m. It goes to 11:30 a.m. And so for our October 6th CCCs, as we call them for short, Coffee Conversation and CEUs, we have someone from the FBI that's going to be doing a presentation for us, and she will be presenting on civil rights and hate crimes against the LGBTQ community. So hopefully you can join us if you're interested in being added to our listing for CCC. Please let me know and I'll be happy to add you to that. But this is an event that we do every month. This is the contact information for Heartgrove, and our phone number and fax number are here, but the website is www.heartgrovehospital.com. And then Garfield Park. Uh-oh. Is there one more slide, Kimberly?
That was the last slide.
That was the last one? Okay. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm missing the one for Garfield Park, but the phone number for Garfield Park is 773-265-3700. And the website is garfieldparkhospital.com. Thank you so much. If there are any questions, I can take them at this time. I know that was kind of quick. Like I said, Kimberly, if someone would like this copy of this presentation, it's fine for them to have it.
Hi, Tamiko. This is Giovanna. I do have a question about the Worthy program.
Oh,
is
yeah.
that available for youth who are not in your inpatient program?
So we are starting to put that together on an outpatient basis because we are seeing more and more cases of Worthy. And so right now it is a track within the hospital, but we do have some social workers that are trained in Worthy and some of those skills that I had discussed towards the end of that part of the presentation. And what I'll do is I will add my information to the chat, but you can reach out to me about that.
Okay.
But yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have you seen someone, because usually when I do this presentation, someone will say, you know, when you gave some of the warning signs that triggered something for me.
Yes, and we're dealing with that population here at DCFS where most of our young ladies are at risk. And if not at risk of being trafficked, but the relationships that they're in are so violent and inappropriate. They need to start having those conversations in an environment where they understand their worth.
Absolutely. I agree.
Okay, so
I got corrected.
Okay, go ahead, Kristen.
Tamika, do you know Sophia James?
I'm sorry, do I know whom?
Sophia James.
Oh, I don't think I know Sophia. Does she work at the hospital or?
No, she was on our support group and you came for one event.
Oh, okay.
Her name Sophia Fire.
Oh, okay. I apologize. I don't recall who she is.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, so I believe she's probably talking about when we were doing some of the virtual support groups and you came out and did, you and Daisy did a presentation on PTSD. Was very well received. And so thank you, Kristen, for bringing that up. And thank you so much, Tamiko, for sharing that presentation, kind of monitoring the chat box as well. So I see there's a lot of people who want to follow up with you. And also if you share, and I'm on the mailing list for the coffee, for the CCC. So I can definitely help by putting that out to the LAN 53 listserv. But I've also added in a chat box. And I'm also, if you're able to do a QR code, if you add your information to the QR code, then we do send out certificates of attendance. That's usable. If you guys are needing CEUs, you can use those to justify the presentation that you've been a part of today. But it also gives us the attendance sheet so that when we send out the presentation, we'll have your information on that as well. So thank you so much, Tamiko. And to everyone else, I will make sure that I share the presentation as well as the meeting notice for the CCCs, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. So our next speaker has really been a friend of LAN and of Family to Family, and we are very happy to have her back. This is Dr. Tamara Young. She's also a fellow Lion with several of us and does a lot of work and is a very passionate advocate around special education. And I'll just tell you, Dr. Young is my go-to person whenever we have a family that is dealing with the special education system. And she is my go-to person. I said, well, let me call Dr. Young and ask her what we should be doing. So we're very happy to have her today to talk about the IEP process. We really wanted to give some information that will help us help the families that we serve and help them get the best out of the IEP system. So I am going to now turn it over to Dr. Young, and similarly, just let me know when you want me to go to the next slide.
Good morning, everyone. How are you? It's a privilege for me to talk about one of the things that's very passionate to me, as Kim indicated, is understanding the power of an IEP. Oftentimes, go ahead. So oftentimes we look at Oftentimes we look at an IEP in a negative way as parents and advocates, and we look at stigmatisms, and we don't really understand the power of this legal document that help parents to support what their students need in an educational setting, from the instructional services to related services. So I am pleased to talk about the IEP and the power it has to help families get through services that their students often need. Next. So first, I want to talk about free and appropriate public education, which is FAPE. And the F stands for free, which means the government pays for education for students with disabilities. And it's at no cost to the parents, because oftentimes when you have specific type of disabilities, it can be costly, but it is the responsibility of the local school districts to pay for these services. Appropriate. Appropriate means that children who qualify can get an IEP with the services that they need for their unique needs. And then you also have 504s, which also help with equal access to learning. And the P stands for public. Public means supervised by a public school. And the IEP team is inclusive of teachers, parents, and other clinical staff. And let me go back again and say parents. One of the most important people in an IEP team is a parent. And a lot of times we don't realize that as parents, we have the power to be a participant who gives information about our child, and we need to listen to what the parents are saying and their input, and they're very important, and they have to understand what their power is on that team. And then the last part of FAPE is the education, which includes special education and can also include related services like speech therapy, counseling, transportation, even medical services if it impacts the student's learning. So next. So, at a glance, what is an IEP? Individual education plan. The purpose of the IEP is to lay out the special education and related services to help students thrive in the educational setting. And these services are for children pre-K through 12th grade. But in recent times, as we look through COVID, the age has changed to like 22, 23 because of the learning loss that we had in COVID. And so we have some students who also are entitled to services even at 22 and 23 through an IEP program. Next. So an IEP is more than just a plan. It's a legal document that provides the layout of the program for special education supports that the services that the student need in order to progress and thrive in the school setting. IEPs are covered by special education law, which is IDEA, Individuals with Disabilities Act 1973, now revised. It's created for eligible students who attend public schools, and even charter schools are included in this. There are many benefits for getting an IEP. The process begins with an evaluation that shows the student's strengths and challenges. Families and schools use the results to create a program for services and supports that tailors to meet the needs of a student. And so this is how important an IEP is that you have the ability to be a team member that can dictate what type of services and supports your child may need as being a part of the team as a parent or an advocate. And so I really want people to understand the importance of being able to dictate individual services for a child. That's very important to know, because as I indicated before, a lot of times we look at this as a negative document, but when you look at it in terms of being able to support your child and knowing exactly what they need, how they function, and then you have a document that legally gives you the authority to do so, that's the power that you have. And so I'll continue to reiterate the power that you have as a parent and an advocate to come in and talk about what individual students need according to how they function in the educational setting. So having an IEP gives the students, families, and school legal protections. It lets families be involved in decision-making that impact their child's education. And it also gives students rights when it comes to school, to discipline. Oftentimes, we don't understand why a child is acting a certain way. So with an IEP, you have to go through a manifestation, which is a meeting that determines is this disability a product of, if the behavior is a product of the disability that they have. And if so, you can't discipline them like you discipline a general ed student who functions differently and understands and know better. You have to look at our students who have IEPs in a different way, and you have to go through a meeting and a process to determine how to discipline them, or if they will be disciplined for certain things that they do. So that's, again, the power of an IEP. Next slide. So who's eligible for an IEP? The Individual with Disabilities Act requires public schools provide the special education and related service to eligible students, but not every child who struggles qualifies. So to be covered, the child's school performance must adversely affect, let me say that again, adversely affect by a disability in one of the 13 categories. So we have to understand that any of the services or categories that the children qualify for, it must adversely affect their academic performance. If things are going on at home and not visualized in the school setting, the child may not qualify for services under IDEA, because these services are specifically for how a child functions in the educational environment. And so we often have to make sure that it's adversely affecting the academic performance. And the children who are qualified are 3 years and up to 22, 23 years old. A child who has one or more of the 13 conditions that are covered under IDEA, and a child who needs services to thrive in school. So next, please. Okay, so now let's look at the categories that a child can qualify for. Specific learning disability is one of the common disabilities that a lot of our students qualify for, and it covers specific groups of learning challenges, and the conditions affects the child's ability to read, write, listen, speak, or reason. And a child with specific learning disability can have deficits in one area, but excel in another area. And so with specific learning disabilities, it is often a student who have highs and lows that are low enough where they need services to help support how they learn in that area. You have other health impaired, and it covers conditions that limits a child's strength, energy, or alertness. And then you have autism disorder, ASD, is a developmental disability, and it involves a wide range of symptoms, but it mainly affects a child's social and communication skills. And it can also affect a child's behavior as well. And to be able to have, this legal document, again, it helps support your child academic functioning and educational settings. So you're fortunate enough to qualify for services. And when we look at qualifications, a lot of times we look at, our young kids, they're in sports, and they might have some academic accelerations, and we're happy to say that they qualify for those things. And I want us to get excited about being able to qualify for a program that will help us meet our children's academic needs, just like we get excited about when they make a team and they qualify, to be on sports or academic accelerations. And so next, we are talking about emotional disturbance, and its various mental health issues can fall under the emotional disturbance category. They may include anxiety, schizophrenia, bipolar, obsessive compulsive disorder, and depression. And we see a lot of that in a lot of students as we come back from COVID. We see a lot of those emotional disturbance or mental health issues that were already there, and it was enhanced by the trauma that our children and family face during COVID. So next category is speech and language impairment. This category covers difficulties with speech and language. A common example is stuttering. Other examples are troubles pronouncing words and making sounds with the voice. It also covers language problems that make it hard for children to understand words or express themselves. So, you look at it in terms of receptive and expressive language, and deficits that our children may have in how they speak, and also how they take in information, which is the processing part as well. So you have visual impairment, which includes blindness. A child who has eyesight problems is considered to have a visual impairment. This category includes both partial sight and blindness. If eyewear can be corrected, can correct the vision problem, then it doesn't qualify the student for services. Then you have deafness. Children with a diagnosis of deafness fall under this category. These children who can't hear most or all sounds, even with a hearing aid, will qualify. And then hearing impairment refers to a hearing loss not covered by the definition. And this type of loss can change over time. Being hard of hearing is not the same thing as having trouble with auditory or language processing. Okay, next. So you have deaf, blindness. Kids with a diagnosis of deaf blindness have both severe hearing and vision loss, and they're qualifying under the services as well. You have orthopedic impairment with children who lack function or ability in their bodies. An example is cerebral palsy. And then you have intellectual disability. Children with this type of disability have below average intellectual ability. They may also have poor communication, self-care, and social skills, which is a multitude of different disabilities at lower levels. An example is Down syndrome in this case. So you're talking about also traumatic brain injury, TBIs, which is caused probably by an accident or some type of physical force, and multiple disabilities. A child with multiple disabilities have more than one condition covered under IDEA. Having multiple issues create educational needs that can't be met in a program designed for any disability. And remember, when we're talking about these disabilities, you must consider if it adversely affects the children in the educational setting. And so now, what actually happens during an IEP meeting? Next. You went too far. There'll be one more slide in between that. Okay. So you have an IEP meeting. You have two accomplishments when you're looking at in terms of an IEP meeting. To determine if your child is eligible for special education and related services. And if your child is eligible, then the IEP team writes an individual education plan to help us with how we will service that child in the educational setting. So, next slide, please. Go back the other way, right there. Okay. So when we enter an IEP meeting, you know, we want you to feel good about the process before and after the outcomes. And so I found this little slide, and I know in dealing with parents in so many cases where we have to go into different IEP meetings, sometimes we have a parent come in and they're confident and they're sure about what we're going to accomplish. And once we get into all of the concepts of an IEP, it can become draining as a parent. And so we want to make sure that we are supporting our parents and our advocates when we're looking at serving our children. We want them to be comfortable in an IEP meeting. We want them to understand their power and their connection and their input to the services that we were providing. So I thought this was kind of cute, and it probably depicts what a lot of our parents feel once they come out of an IEP meeting. So I wanted to, I know we don't have a lot of time, and so we can talk about this later, but I want you to think about what I have stated, the terms I have used, and understanding the terminology of IEP and the process of an IEP, and how we can make you feel like a team leader and a part of the meetings as we continue through this process. Next. So the 10 steps in the IEP process, a child is identified and possibly needing special education and related services. That's the first thing after we, then we do an evaluation, and then we decide if a child is eligible for services. If a child is found eligible for services, then we schedule an IEP meeting. IEP meeting is held and written by the IEP team, which is inclusive of parents, clinicians, administrators who have either assessed or know the child and give good information on how to service the child in the educational environment. And so, you know, the IEP is written, services are provided, And once the services are provided, then we start doing progress reports. And then the progress reports is usually throughout the year doing the scheduled progresses, as well as annually to determine if the child is functioning where we want them to function and if they're meeting their goals. And then we do an IEP review and evaluation. A reevaluation happens every 3 years. But as a parent, you can come back to the table if you feel like your child is not getting what they need, or if they have accelerated and you want to see them their goals enhanced. You have the power and the right to come back to the table at any time to discuss what your concerns are and how you want to move forward with your child's goals and how they're functioning at that moment. Next. So what is in an IEP? You have the present level of performance. You have statement of goals, the annual goals, which I talked about, where a parent can monitor these goals and look and see, how their child is functioning, and if we, need to come back to the table to discuss where the child is. It looks at if they're improving in their skills and if they're struggling as well. Then you have the statement of related services such as occupational therapy, physical therapy, and sometimes and speech therapy as well. And sometimes you might have a related service that's actually the main service, like speech therapy can be a service within itself that a child has for an IEP. And you also have a statement of special education needs, what the needs are, modifications, which may include shortened assignments, accommodations, which may have assistive technology for students. If you have a visually impaired student, you may have a larger screen computer for that child, a magnify glass for the student to read. You also have description of service delivery, how you're delivering the service to the student. Statement of least restrictive environment, making sure that the child is in an environment that's least restrictive. We always want to look at the general ed environment first and then support the child outside if necessary. But if we can keep the child in a general ed environment with supports, that is the first environment we want our children to stay in. We talk about testing placement, what type of testing they may need or any accommodations they may need with testing, whether they need small group or they need to be in a separate location as they test. Statement of transition and rights of transition. Those transition services are usually at the 8th grade when a child is transitioning over into the high school, and they look at more of the courses they would take. And by age 16, they're looking at like career paths. Next. So next, go one more. Next, I want to talk about key points to remember. So remember that your child needs an IEP in order to get special education service or related services. And as a parent or an advocate, you play a key role throughout the IEP process. If you have concerns, then you need to address them. It's okay to use your parental power. If you do not know, ask questions. It's okay to ask questions, as many questions as you need until you understand what you're asking. And so it is important to stay on top of your child's IEP and make sure your child is making progress. You are your child's #1 advocate throughout the school years and beyond. Go back one. And I want to leave you with this. I am that mom, the one who speaks up before, during, and after IEP meetings, the one who demands the IEP be followed, the one who questions everything, the one who loses sleep over needs not met, the one who cries over skills lost, the one who gives a voice to her child when they have none, the one who has experienced highs she never dreamed of, and lows she would wish no one have to face, the one who sometimes dreads adulthood instead of looking forward to it, the one who will never give up advocating for her child. I am that mom and damn proud of it. One more slide. Every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists they become the best that they can possibly be. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Young. That was wonderful. I see that a lot of people are really applauding. They love that one slide with the parent after the IEP meeting and the I am that mom. And so I did ask Dr. Young in advance if she would be open to sharing her slides. So I will include those slides as well. Again, please make sure that you are putting your information on the digital sign-in sheet. I'm going to post it one more time. And I see that Shanae has raised her hand. So Shanae, please go ahead with your question.
I just wanted to say thank you for this particular presentation. My daughter is now in her second year of college, and she had to have an IEP. She entered into an IEP in second grade, I think it was, for visual, the vision part. She had visual issues or whatever, vision issues. And that journey was all of what you presented as from a parental standpoint, and having to advocate. Even at one point, I even had to have her vision doctor, her eye doctor come in one of the meetings to advocate on my daughter's behalf in entering into the IEP and explaining what the issue was. Long story short, one of the things that I found very beneficial was being able to start allowing my daughter to have a voice in her IEP. So as she got older, around 7th or 8th grade, and specifically, especially around high school stage, allowing her in those meetings so she can hear what was being discussed, because that's when stigma started to happen for her, and students were starting to, notice that she was being pulled out of the classroom for, for tests and different things. And, they were starting to say things. So in order to empower her to understand, because she was starting to fight me on it. So to understand, I started asking, for her to be included in those meetings, and it helped a lot. And then it even got to the point where she started advocating for herself, because in high school, she was still being pulled out. But what it was having an adverse effect on her when it came to testing, because the group that she was being put into the classroom with to test, they weren't productive, or they weren't doing, the work, and it was a distraction for her. So we were able to advocate for her to stay inside the classroom with testing. And then she was put into classrooms where there was a support teacher in there with, in that particular classroom. And then if she needed that support, or they checked in on her if she needed that support. So it helps her feel a little bit more normalized, I guess, if that's the right word. Sorry, but thank you for this presentation.
You're welcome. And I'm glad you're a parent who helped her understand the power of her IEP.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing, Shanae. I see iPhone 4, also known as Tila, has her hand up. Tila.
I have a few questions, but I'm gonna limit it to this one at this time, and maybe I can just email them to you, Dr. Young. I noticed last year's meeting that the team was excited, actively seeking to, change Alan's primary diagnosis from autism with a secondary diagnosis of auditory integration deficit to primarily IDD, I think, and then secondary was autism. And I still am not convinced that that was best, but I just wanted to know your opinion, if you have one on that.
As I stated before, you're a part of the team, and you're an important part of that team. And even as you have concerns or questions, you should ask them at that time. But even if after the meeting, you decide that something didn't seem right, you have a right to come back to the table and have them to go over why they changed that diagnosis and how it affects him in the school setting. Because the bottom line is how he functions in the classroom or the, you know, in the educational setting, and are we providing him with the proper supports? The diagnosis, you know, paves the way, but the ultimate goal is to making sure that he's functioning and we're giving him the proper educational instruction and related services if needed to sustain in an educational environment. Did I answer your question?
I'm afraid so. I got more work to do. But that I should pay closer attention to functionality and then be clear about what the change means.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
I have a quick question.
Oh, go ahead.
This is Teresa. So when they have an IEP, does it follow you until like high school, or is it ever removed or?
So the IEP helps supplement the general ed instruction. And so if you have met all your goals and you no longer need the services, you can be discontinued from the IEP.
Okay. All right. Because I know somebody, my nephew, you know, like they give him an IEP only because he was diagnosed with epilepsy, but he's doing good educational wise. He's meeting he's meeting all the goals. So is it okay to have it on him only because of the condition of being epileptic?
It's an IEP or a 504?
No, IEP.
It's an
IEP.
IEP.
I went with my sister and she was like that picture that you put in there. She
Mhm.
was very, because we don't know anything. So we went in there and we're thinking like the worst. So it's an IEP.
Okay, and he has epilepsy.
Yes, we met with with the teacher and like I guess the caseworker, and yes, and they always put a plan on him and goals and stuff like that. But he's doing good in school. It's just like because he apparently he had an episode in school, so that you know, like, so we took him to the doctor and he he has epilepsy. He's on medication, but he's doing good otherwise. So
It's not. It is. Oh, I just lost my train. You know, it's not always academic, especially when it's medical. We have to make sure that we have procedures in place just in case. And so when you have a child who now functions because they're taking medicine and a medicine is working, that does not take away that they still have epilepsy in your nephew's case. And so if it adversely affects his academic performance, they're going to put an IEP, and I'm surprised that it's an IEP instead of a 504 unless there's some other underlying circumstances.
I never heard of the 5 whatever form. I know
that's more medical and mental health issues. And you can actually have them interchangeably, or one of the other, or both. It just depends on, and I don't have all of the information about him, but just you're saying he has the epilepsy, he has had an episode in school. So they're going to make sure they put a plan in place so that he can get services in the school, or in case he has an episode where he may have to spend some extended time outside of school, that IEP plan will cover how they support him academically. And Miss Lindsay, you want to add to that? She's a awesome school psychologist, and she probably have some good information to share with you as well.
Right. I was just gonna say, just like what you were saying, Dr. Young, if he had the academic portion, if he scored below his same age peers, they're going to give it to him. So it's not going to be just for the epilepsy. That's going to be an add-on because that's a health component, but he could still have SLD and that. So that is a possibility. And then you just want to really be careful because when they do go to college, it switches over to more of an ADA thing. It's not an IEP anymore, but you still want to have that IEP because they could still go to the Office of Disability Services and possibly get services and support in college. It looks a little different, but it's still going to be there to help out. Yeah. And I think someone also talked about related services. Related services should happen whether you have a 504 or IEP. So you shouldn't lose it, even from speech and language all the way down to social work services. Every school district is a little different. And I will always say that you have to look and see what they've done and what their precedence has been. But it's not always bad, you know, to have that. I think it's more of a catchment just to make sure, because I know a lot of times, even when freshmen come over here, if I'm evaluating them, I'm careful about evaluating them their freshman year, because if I drop them and then as time goes, other things come into play, junior year, they're not doing so well, it looks different. So in high school, we're really working on, we're hoping and helping the compensatory strategies, whereas in elementary school, they're doing more remediation, right? They're doing more intensive supports. In high school, we want to make sure you have those accommodations and modifications to be able to support.
Yeah, because he only had one episode, and that's how they found out, because he only had one episode when he was like in first grade. He's now in third grade. But with the medication, he's fine. He has never had one again. So it's just like, and we keep going for these meetings and for the IEPs.
I really think that some elementary schools, especially, they're just really cautious and they're kind of leaning on that. And then 8th grade comes, you never, you know. Am I right, Dr. Young? You just kind of cautious with the little ones.
Yes, and as I stated, some medication may help the condition, but it doesn't mean that you still have the condition. And so you have to look at the child for who they are outside of a support, which is medication. Because what if he don't have the medication that day, or something happens where the medication is not working?
Right.
He could have an episode. And so we want to make sure we continue to have something in place to help support who he is.
All right, makes sense. Yeah. Thank you.
This is a really good conversation. I'm so glad that we were able to have it. I see that Kristen, oh, I'm sorry. I see Kristen has her hand up. So go ahead, Kristen. You had a question or comment?
Yeah, Dr. Young. When I was in grammar school and high school, I had an IEP. And when I left high school, I went to a transition program. Can you talk about what's the good things about having your kids at a transition program if they are not ready to go to college?
So I don't know a lot about transitional programs, and you probably could be a spokesperson for that. But I do know that that's one of the services that could be offered to students, as well as 504s carry you and IDEA. And once you have these services in place, there are offices, disabilities office in the different colleges that help support you with testing and how you navigate through the higher ed systems. And so you can be our next speaker on those transitional programs. but that's just one of many options that students can have outside of high school and moving beyond to help them become better citizens of society and help them with the work ethics and getting them prepared for adulthood.
Okay.
This has been very informative. And so I do have a question, Dr. Young. So in the IEP process, when you guys are looking at the related services, is it your experience or do you find that schools are able to connect with community-based resources to provide those educational support services? Because I know we've got a lot of community partners on the call as well.
So, you know, it depends on the culture of the school. Being the head of my student service department, with my background in social work, I know how important it is to bring in different programs and resources outside of what we have here in the school. In terms of related services, most of our related services are facilitated by our clinicians that are usually housed here in the school. But as of late, you know, there's a shortage, so a lot of our services are contracted out. And so when we are providing an IEP or related services, it's also good to have community-based services. I have made a partnership with a community medical-based program that will provide our families with mental health services, counseling, family, individual counseling, different services that relates to trauma and health. And so I think it's very important to have those type of relationships with community-based resources because they are right there in the foundation of the community where when the school can't provide those services, then they have resources within the community. And then we can also collaborate and have conversations as to what type of services will help us connect our students and our families and support them while they're in school. And then if it's not available in school, then you have the resources within the community. And it also has to do with relationships and feeling safe and feeling like you are getting services with people who care about your families and the community in which you live in.
Thank you, thank you. And so do we have any more questions for Dr. Young? This has been really informative and awesome. And I really like how, even though we may be attending this meeting as providers, many of us are also parents or grandparents that have had children to go through the educational system. And I think it's important that even as we fulfill our professional roles, that we're also realizing the value of our own support network and understanding the resources and the expertise that's right here among us. So I want to thank both of our speakers, Dr. Young and Tamiko did have to leave earlier, but she will see this thank you if she views this on the YouTube, as they say. And so we've been really keeping some good time this morning. So I do want to take a second just to go over a couple of announcements. And I'll also invite you all, if you all have any agency announcements that you need to share, we'll open the mic for that as well. We do send out each month a meeting notice that lists who our guest speakers are going to be. And we do try to include any announcements that we've received prior to us sending out the notice, which is usually about a week before the meeting. If you are not on our mailing list and you're only getting notified through the listserv or that Google Calendar invite, I would definitely encourage you to join our mailing list. We are going to try to transition so that we are able to make sure that everyone gets sort of this full meeting notice. And that is a QR code that you can scan. If you have filled out the digital attendance sheet, then I will add you to that mailing list so that you're able to get that announcement. One additional announcement that I need to make is that, well, the breakout rooms are not open. We are, Family to Family has become part of the convening membership of SEL for Illinois. It's very early, and this is an organization that's trying to organize a statewide effort to promote SEL across the state of Illinois. SEL for Illinois is part of the national SEL for US. And so we are looking for additional members and conveners. And as you can probably figure, I am a strong advocate for the inclusion of community-based partners as well as family members, parents with lived experience. I think that those are two roles that are always going to be very important to any dynamic that addresses education. Kids are in school for a limited number of hours, but the role that the community plays and that parents play can never be understated, but we're often very underrepresented. So what I did on this month's attendance sheet, I put in just one extra little question to see if you will be interested. There's a meeting coming up in October that they want to do sort of an all-call where people who are interested in joining as a convening member or maybe being on one of the committees can come and learn about what SEL for Illinois is about. It's very early in the formation. Personally, I'm a big fan of getting involved in things on the ground. So I want to make sure that I extend that to you all as well. The other announcement, I did hear back from Paula Truan, as well as Dr. Jennifer Geiger, who has been our state and university connections for the Permanency Enhancement Project. DCFS and UIC has an agreement where we usually have an intern from UIC, and we work with them to kind of look at our data, and we're always looking for our stakeholders that want to be part of that PEP meeting. So if you are interested in that, please let me know, and we will make sure that you get an invite to that upcoming meeting. Those meetings are usually held quarterly. So those are really the announcements that I have for today. And I will open up the floor to see if there's anyone else that has any announcements, any upcoming events that you want to share.
I do.
Yes.
The Arc of Illinois is having the annual state convention next month hold on, let me look at my calendar. On the 5th and 6th of October. I know that me and Kim is going down, but anybody else want to attend? You need to fill out an application. The event called Speak Up and Speak Out. And maybe Kim could get a little bit more information about it.
Thank you, Kristen. I think you did a really good job. So Arc of Illinois has an annual conference. This one is really focused on disability self-advocates. They have a really great roster of speakers, a lot of whom I've met through Kristen, as well as Victoria Boating, who has worked with us and worked with Lincoln to do the African drumming. And so we are going to go down. It's, I believe, October 5th and 6th. So if you are working with families or parents or anyone who might qualify as a self-advocate, they do offer stipends to support or assist with the cost of registration as well as accommodations. This event is going to be hybrid. So they're going to have an online portion, but then they're also going to have an in-person event. It's going to be in Springfield. I can share that information as well, Kristen. Thank you for that announcement. Yes.
You're welcome.
And do we have any other announcements? I know that Lisa, who also had to leave a little early, left some information in the chat box as to an event that they have that she mentioned, which is the walk. So they are going to have a team. So NAMI South Suburbs is going to have a team. So what they're doing is inviting us to join their team. And so she did drop that information in the chat box. April also dropped some information, which was included in that monthly announcement about the Farmers Market and Resource Fair, which is coming up on September the 30th. That's a Saturday. It's from 9 to 1. That's going to be in Blue Island. So you'll be able to get fresh fruits and vegetables. They're going to be offering free pediatric immunizations. They're going to be helping people make sure that they either apply for or continue their Medicaid coverage. They're going to be doing gift card raffles, and they're going to have a resource fair. So that's going to be coming up fairly quickly. That's going to be September the September the 30th. And I think, Suzette is going to be very proud of me today because it is now 11:40, and I think that we're almost in a position to return you all to the rest of your day. Right? So I want to thank everyone for taking the time to be with us this morning. This meeting has been live streamed on YouTube, so I will send the link. It will be broadcast in its entirety. So if you want to share it, if you want to revisit or get any of the information, kind of rewind, please do so. In the words of my good girlfriend, Suzette Logan, we will see you next month. Please bring a friend. Thank you so much. And you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.